Fire Call, the Fire Safety Show, Division Chief Jim Sideras.
Hi, my name is Division Chief Jim Sideras, and you are watching Fire Call, where we're going to take you all over the city, hang with the best firefighters in the country from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And this show, we're going to be all over the place. We're going to be doing training, and almost nothing but training. We're going to go out to our training center. We're going to take a look at some of the specialized training we do for our firefighters to get them ready to fight fire. And if you're a firefighter, take a look at our new flat roof simulator. You could probably build this back at your station, back at your department, and it's worth every penny. So we're going to talk to the crews out there. We're going to talk to our training staff. They're going to give you some of the ins and outs about firefighting. And we're getting ready to hire again. It's coming up pretty darn quick, so we're going to answer some questions about being a firefighter. But of course, everybody's favorite, we got the shout-outs. This shout-out's from Trevor. Trevor wants a shout-out to Arnold's Cove Volunteer Fire Department and Newfoundland, Canada. Matt wants a shout-out to the Lower Milford Fire and EMS in Limeport, Pennsylvania. And last is Sam. Sam wants a shout-out to the Taunton Fire Department in Taunton, Massachusetts. So sit back, get some popcorn, air popcorn, low fat, grab a diet soda, and hang with the guys and gals of Sioux Falls Fire Rescue. When we're looking at training, we have a lot of questions about high-rise fires. And I have Captain Tim Schulstrom. Tim is one of our training officers here that developed these drills. So here's the question. Tim, you ready?
I'm ready, Jim.
3 questions, pretty much the same question. Adrian from South El Monte, California. Adam from Fordyce, Nebraska. And Matt from Dayton, Ohio. And they're basically asking, what's the difference between fighting a residential fire, a single-family dwelling, maybe a one-story building, as opposed to a high-rise fire, and the training we're doing today?
Well, here in Sioux Falls, in our SOP, we define...
SOP is?
Standard Operating Procedure. It's a guideline that guides us. And we define high-rise fires as 3-story walk-ups or higher. Mm-hmm. Big thing with the high-rise fires is obviously resources. Very labor-intensive. You've got the vertical problem as well as the size problem. You've got resources, air bottles, hose, men, equipment, SCBAs. Plus you may have patients, people that are using the building that we got to get out. So the big difference is just the scale and the vertical nature. And we're talking multiple alarms. We're talking lots of people. We may actually assign an entire company or maybe even an entire fire alarm dispatch just to move equipment.
Because we got to stage equipment out, move all our SCBA bottles that we're breathing, the breathing air has to be staged up because they can't make it all the way down. They might burn up a bottle going up and downstairs just with the
travel time.
You bet.
Just with the travel time. We try and observe best practice. We try and put a staging area 2 levels before the fire floor. We launch from there, and it is more complicated with a high-rise fire. Fortunately, here in Sioux Falls, we don't have a lot of high-rise buildings,
and that's a good thing. And then we have to look at the physical nature of the work. Is that firefighters, we want them to stay in good physical shape as they start moving up and down high-rise apartments. You can't use the elevators. Everything's on the stairways.
You're right. We're not supposed to use the elevators. There are built into the elevators ways where we can do level 1 and level 2,
sure.
And we can take control of those elevators and make them work for us. But we have to do some things before we can do that.
Right.
We have to make sure that elevator and the mechanical room, the shaftway is
secured, and you never know what's going to happen.
No, you don't.
Okay, next question, Tim. Got through that one. You're doing a good job. Okay, this one's from Christopher. Christopher lives in Gardner, North Carolina. Jake lives in Porterville, California. And Steve lives in Monroe, Michigan. And they want to all know about training. What kind of training do we offer the department? How do we deliver the training? And some of the idiosyncrasies of being a training officer and putting that all together.
Oh boy.
And you can do it in 32 seconds.
Well, here in Sioux Falls, we're fortunate. We do have a dedicated training staff. We currently have 5 personnel. We have a battalion chief in charge of training. who is under you as our division chief of accreditation and professional standards. Then we have myself, and we have
Captain Extraordinaire, I believe.
I don't know about the Captain Extraordinaire,
Just
but
keep
Captain,
moving. Just
yes.
keep moving.
Then we also have an FAO
Right.
that helps us with our driver operations, and we have a firefighter, a seasoned firefighter on our staff. We also have a maintenance person. So we do have 5 people.
And we have a large facility out here with
we
classroom building, tower.
We have a 6-acre campus. We have a dedicated concrete burn structure that we can do live fire training. We have a large paved area that we can, set up different scenarios. We can do rescue, hazmat. So we're fortunate with equipment and resources here in Sioux Falls. We do kind of a 2-year rotation with our training. We also look at our training annually. We set our agenda a year in advance. We look at topics from PIAs. We're incorporating that in this drill.
What the PIAs are is we review every call, or the significant calls, and then we look at lessons learned. Maybe we're seeing areas of deficiencies and say, you know what, we need to buff that up with some training. Flat roof training is a perfect example of that. Good call.
Yeah, we do. We like to use our real world proof as, hey, we need to do this better. And so we take a look at that. We set our agenda about a year in advance. How we deliver it to the crews. We have 7 drills, and
that we rotate through.
Spread out through the year. We do those.
Now, some people are going to say, why not more? But remember, we got 11 engine companies, 3 shifts, round-the-clock staffing, so we got to work that through, and it takes about almost 2 months, really, to start rolling one through.
We do. With our 7 drills, 6 of those drills, we do half-day drills. They're multi-company drills. We bring 2 companies together, and we do pretty intensive work on a particular topic. We try and break it down into individual skills, as well as do some classroom and do some instruction, and so that the guys can think, not just react.
Right.
Now, what we're doing today is actually our live fire drill. It's an all-day evolution. We do some individual company operations in the morning, and then this afternoon you got to observe some live fire training, where we actually let the firefighters practice what they've learned through the year. This year, some of our topics have been how to deliver the water, line selection, nozzle selection, are we flowing enough water, GPM, fire flow. We've also been taking a look at some of our changes in our single-family residences. We don't always have the 3-bedroom, 2-bath, split foyer or ranch. Now here in our jurisdiction, we do have the 5,000, the 6,000 square foot home, where some of these master suites are actually larger than most people's apartments. And it does take a different mindset to effectively search that and to control a fire in that size of a building.
So there's a lot of strategic planning when we look at what do we need to deliver and then how do we deliver that training.
Yep. One of the things we identified through the PIA in past practice, we identified that we needed to work on some roof operations. Part of our drill today was some actual time with current building materials and a mock-up of a flat roof for type 3 construction, ordinary construction, wood roof. And we let the crews spend some time with their equipment, their saws, and they cut the roof apart. We also talked about how do we accomplish our objectives on the fireground. Our first and most important objective is life safety. It's part of this RECIO that we talk about, rescue. And during this year we practiced a drill. We showed them a rescue technique they call vent, enter, search. We do it not very often, but there are times when we'll pull it out of the toolbox. In our SOP, we've identified that we're willing to get that out of the toolbox when we have a known life safety hazard. Sioux Falls defines a known life safety hazard when our fire crews can hear a patient, or they can see a patient, or if we have a credible witness. And that was the scenario today for our live fire. We had the mother tell the crews on their arrival that she was able to self-evacuate, but her daughters weren't. And she was pointing to specific windows and doors saying, this is my daughter's bedroom, this is where I last saw her, she's in here, you got to help her. And so the crews had a known life hazard, and we saw how they performed. And they did well.
Yeah, they did. Well, Tim, I want to thank you for all your hard work and working with the crews out here, and it's going to pay off in the long term. It's like training is like a very good investment, and you're like our little pot of gold for that investment, Tim.
Well, I don't know about that, but I am having fun.
Thanks, Tim. Well, when we look at firefighting, we have to look at all parts of that operation, and we're doing some specialized training here with flat roof ventilations, meaning crews will be up on top of a roof to ventilate, let that heat and fire out. It's tough to do that, so we have special training prop made, and with me is Captain Randy Farland. Now, you just went through this. Well, now, why is this so important when we look at training your new firefighters?
Well, a lot of our new firefighters haven't had an opportunity to actually train on a prop like this, and this is a new prop we have. And we don't cut as many flat roofs as we do pitched roofs, and it's nice to get some experience.
This can be very dangerous when you got fire underneath you. Cutting a hole, it's easy to fall through if you don't know what you're doing, fall off a roof. So when you look at this now, you're a captain, you're in a truck company. What are some of the concerns that you have when you're doing this, when you're cutting these holes that you've learned from this training?
Well, I mean, we're looking for roof integrity first of all, to make sure we can even be up there. But then we're making sure that everybody knows how to cut their holes, their inspection holes, and make sure what we have.
What's the importance of an inspection hole?
Well, you can see what type of roof you have, how thick it is, and where you need to make it cut.
Okay. And then when you start to cut, what's some important things to consider that the average person won't think about when cutting because we're cutting a pretty good sized hole in this roof to let a lot of that heat and fire out. What are some of the big things that people just don't normally think about when they're sitting in their living room watching Captain Farland work with his crew?
Well, I mean, that's another thing with the inspection hole. You're checking to see where the roof members are for your trusses, and you're not cutting through them. So when you're making your hole, you're not ruining the integrity of the roof also.
Because if you cut through your trusses, potentially
the roof, that area of the roof could collapse on you.
And now put our firefighters right down in the fire.
Correct.
Another thing now, we talked about starting our saws, and we always start them on the ground. Why is that?
We want to make sure they're going to run when we get them up on top of the roof.
Because if it's like my lawnmower, as soon as I get out of the garage, it doesn't want to start.
Yep. It's the best thing to do is make sure your equipment, I mean, we check it every day to make sure they run, but you always want to make sure right before you take it up there that you're not going to have a problem getting it started.
So we start it, shut off, take it to the top, run it full throttle, and cut all our holes.
Correct.
Well, great. Well, thanks, Captain Farland. Got a few questions we're going to answer, and I have with me Captain Mark Bukovic. Now, Mark isn't just a captain. He's also on our list to be promoted to a battalion chief. Y'all ready for the big move when it happens?
You bet.
Okay. Ready for these questions? These questions, Mark, are going to determine your potential for promotion. How's that sound?
All right, let's have at it.
Okay. Sadiq in Sioux Falls has a question about if a lot of times we have a language barrier on calls.
Yes.
If someone's calling and they think they might have a language issue, what are things that they could do to prepare themselves when they call 911?
Well, there's a couple things. First of all, the biggest thing when anybody calls 911 or needs help, we need to know their address. So things that they could do is before there's ever an emergency, they could post their address next to the phone. So that way if their children are calling, a visitor is calling, or themselves, they can, when they call in to 911, they can have their address posted so they can just read it off. At least that way we'll send some help and find out what the problem is so that we can send the appropriate resources once it's
Excellent.
received. And then the biggest thing in any house, even if you speak English, is to have a 911 sticker. That way when the emergency happens and everybody's confused, you can look, see the sticker 911 for help, and just dial 911.
So a lot of people don't realize, or they get under a little bit of chaos going on in the house and they forget how to call for help.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Okay, you're on a roll, Mark. Now, we have this. This is roughly the same question from a couple different viewers. Jeff in Sioux Falls, John in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania, and another John in Sioux Falls. They want to know about when firefighters are coming into your home and they run across someone who's disabled, maybe in a wheelchair, and it's an emergency, we have a house fire. What would we do to help them get out of a home?
Well, in Sioux Falls, obviously, we run into that. We're a sizable community, and we run into these instances. A couple things that we do in preparation for this is our CAD system has the ability...
CAD is?
Computer-aided dispatch.
Very good.
So when our dispatch center receives a call, when we pre-plan buildings, we have the ability to put in certain addresses with locations that has a disabled person. So when we're dispatched, a lot of times our communication center will tell us, be advised at this address in this apartment, you've got a disabled person. So we
Right.
know to send resources to that location right away to get them out. And if the person's disabled, to say in a wheelchair, a lot of times we'll just go up and carry that person out in their wheelchair, and we'll just take 4 firefighters, a couple more than normal for a normal person, but we'll send up the resources we need to get them out of the building or the house, whatever they're in.
And then if we have, in those incidents, we just make sure that those people are taken care of right away, move to
Absolutely.
a safe area. So
And
not to worry.
always, if you call 911 for an emergency, like a fire in your building, make sure you tell them that you're disabled. Even if it's noted on the CAD, we don't want to miss anything. So make sure
And-
you tell them your location,
There you go.
your apartment number, address, and that you're disabled and need additional assistance. And we'll make sure we get that assistance to you.
Perfect. Mark, great job. And here you were all thinking that we're going to throw trick questions in there,
You never know.
which we wanted to.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Training is some of the most important things we can do for our firefighters. It gives them the confidence, puts them in situations that they normally come across before they happen. Now, one of our training officers is Jason Marzoff, and Jason developed the entrapment drill, that one of the drills we're doing. So tell us now, the entrapment drill. Everyone's kind of a little nervous about it. What's it do for our firefighters?
Well, Jim, we find in a lot of our commercial buildings now with the networking systems, phone systems, all that, we have drop ceilings, and in those drop ceilings, they tend to run all their networking cable, which there's
Sure.
hundreds of feet of cable, and every time they replace cable, they just leave the old in there and continue to
Tuck
do
it up,
it.
tuck up
Yep.
behind a tile and keep moving
Yes.
on.
And that drop ceiling is just supported hanging by wires, so when that drop ceiling falls, it's a huge hazard to our firefighters that are in there doing operations to become entangled in those wires.
So all those wires fall down, firefighters are crawling through it, get all tangled up, basically.
Yes.
So now what did you teach them with this entanglement drill?
I was teaching them that number one, you have to stay safe. Number two, they have to radio any emergency traffic and let the IC know who they are,
IC
where
is
they're at,
the,
incident commander,
There you go.
who they are, what their error is, what their problem is, because our rapid intervention team will be activated and they need to know what tools they need to bring in and what situation they're going into. Not only that, with it being wires, we don't know what type of wires they are,
So
so incident
electrical,
commander
charged.
needs to ensure that the power has been cut in case we need to cut any wires so it's not a hazard to our firefighters.
And I don't think people realize when you look at just, you got all your gear on now, but everything can, in the dark, you get a wire, can snag under your visor, that can stop you cold. It can hook on any piece of equipment, and you have to not only find it, get untangled, radio for help, and stay calm for the rest of your crew to carry on that mission.
Yeah, the biggest part of it is being able to stay calm and realizing where your pinch points are your body and how to control them and protect them the best that you can.
Is this something you think other fire departments should be looking at doing too?
I think it's a huge thing, especially anybody who has huge commercial areas or, even a lot of your banking industry, those types of things where they use a lot of the networking systems and whatnot. And I think we're going to see more and more of that put into place with the drop ceilings.
Well, this drill, Jason, is going to save firefighters, it's going to decrease injuries, and we really appreciate your help and all the hard work in putting that together.
All right, thanks, Jim.
You bet. Got a lot of questions about ladders and doing ladder rescues. And I have no one better to answer that than Captain Nate Rummel. Nate's been in the department for how many years, Nate?
10.
Captain for how long?
Year and a half.
You like it?
I enjoy it.
Do a great job, and we're out here doing training today. So here are the questions. 2 questions. One from Thomas. Thomas lives in North Canton, Ohio. And from Art. Art lives in Drescher, Pennsylvania. And they both want to know kind of the same thing. What are some of the ways we can move people out of a building onto a ladder if we end up having someone who's maybe unconscious? How do we get them out of a building and rescue them when they can't walk down the stairs?
Well, Jim, the first determining factor is going to be the height of the window or the height of the landing that you're going to rescue the victim from.
Okay.
That'll determine what size ladder we'll use for a ground floor window. We just use a normal step ladder. The higher the window or landing, obviously, the taller the ladder we have to use.
So for extension ladders, the longest extension ladder we have?
We carry 24-foot extension ladders on all our engines. We've got 35-foot extension ladders on our truck companies. And then for aerial apparatus, we've got 75-foot aerials and 100-foot aerial platforms.
So for most normal homes, some of the smaller apartments, we're good to go for
24-foot extension ladder is probably our most common ladder that we'll use to perform a rescue with. Typically, we'll bring the victim out of the window or egress opening, and a minimum of 2 personnel needed for the operation. You're going to need at least 1 person inside with the victim. Of course, the bigger the victim, the tighter the space, the more manpower you're going to need. So, every situation's different, and we just have to use the resources that we have to adequately perform the rescue. We keep 1 person on the ladder, minimum. We'll bring a victim up to a window. They'll be handed off out onto the ladder, and there's several different techniques that a firefighter can use to bring the victim down the ladder. Obviously, safety is our first priority. Safely getting the victim to the ground is, that's our priority, and our rescuer safety. So
And it doesn't happen as fast as it does on TV normally. It's a labor-intensive project to move someone down ladders.
Correct. It's a very labor-intensive project. It's said that it could take up to 12 rescuers to rescue a downed firefighter. So a downed firefighter with their gear on, weight-wise, comparable to a large adult human. So it's very labor-intensive, and like I said, every situation is going to be different, and the situation itself dictates the complexity of the rescue.
And the training out here, how does that help your crew when you do this training?
Training is obviously major importance to us, because fortunately we don't do a lot of rescues out windows. So, the best way to get experience, aside from doing the actual rescues, is to come out and train. Today we're doing multi-company training, and we've used several different sized ladders, doing victim extrication off first floor and off second floor, from live fire situations to just normal search and rescue in a smoke-filled room. But training, utmost importance.
Great.
Make us proficient at laddering, not just getting used to operating the ladder and operating on ladders, but to performing the whole evolution.
Sure. Well, Nate, I'll let you get back to your crew, and thanks a lot for all your good help.
Thank you.
Everybody wants to be a firefighter, especially if they can get a chance to get hooked up with Sioux Falls Fire Rescue. And I got some questions about how to become a firefighter, so listen up. I'm only going to tell you once, but these are pretty darn good questions. First one's from Brianna. Brianna wants to know about being a firefighter, and also Wyatt. Brianna's from Lyon, South Dakota. Wyatt is from Sheldon, Iowa. And they want to know about becoming a firefighter. Well, it's real easy. Go to our website, www.siouxfalls.org/fire. Has on there all our requirements for the testing. Now, when you do the testing, you got to be in good shape, okay? You got to be working out, have good cardiovascular endurance, because the testing process is pretty rigorous. You're going to first take a written test. You're going to do a physical agility test. You're going to go through a psychiatric evaluation, a medical evaluation, chief's interview. It takes a while. It doesn't happen overnight. But now's the time to get ready for that job. Get ready for your interviewing skills and get your body in shape. Got 2 more questions about being a firefighter. First one's from Ryan. Ryan lives in Hartford, South Dakota. And Mike. Mike lives in Sioux City, Iowa. And they both want to know about the age requirements to be a firefighter. Now, Ryan is 31, and he said, am I too old to be a firefighter? No. We have no top in on that age. If you can pass the entrance test, the physical agility test, if you can pass the medical test, the medical screening, we don't have an age cap. Matter of fact, one of our newer firefighters not that long ago, but when he was hired, celebrated his 50th birthday out at the training center. So he's just got hired and he was 50 years old. As long as you can pass that and you're good physical condition, you're good to go. Now the other question is, what about how young you can be? Now in Sioux Falls, you have to be 21 when you apply. Other cities are different. Sioux Falls, we want you to be 21. A couple good reasons for that. It gives you a little time to mature, get seasoned out there. Great time to go to college while you're waiting to get hired. We really want our people to have a well-rounded background, not just leaving high school and their first job is being a firefighter. We want you to have a little bit of life experience. So it's 21 years old, and you have to be an EMT. You can pick up that EMT time in there because most of our calls now are working as medical calls. As a matter of fact, when we start figuring out how many calls we have, almost of our emergency calls, red lights and sirens, over 70% of our calls are medical calls. So before you even put water on a fire, you're going to be doing a lot of EMS. You're going to have way more heart attacks and fires. You're going to be delivering babies. You need to be very comfortable and very capable with those medical skills, because that's what we do a lot of here. So I hope those kind of answer your questions about how to apply. And again, go to our website, www.siouxfalls.org/fire, and it will have, there's a video on there about how to get ready physically. There's also the handout that we give out about the job, and you can also tie into some more episodes of Fire Call, everybody's favorite show. If you have any more questions about that, let me know. We'll try to get them on. Now, this is important. You want to be a firefighter, you got to get ready. We're going to be hiring again next year. So our sign-up period is probably going to be around in that January time frame. You need to go on the website, and you can sign up so that you are notified when we're going to be doing the taking applications. Next year is the year, my friends. So if you want to be a firefighter, dang it, it's a great place to work. You'll love every day of it, but you got to take that first step and get your application in. Okay, I think that about covers all that. Training, as we've been watching, is critical to fire operations. You know, when we look at some of those flat roof fires that we have to fight, we don't get a lot of opportunity to do those on a regular basis. That's why training is so important. You know, when you think about it, firefighters train a lot, but when things really get bad, you're going to default to your training. So you got to train like your life depends on it, because it really does. But we take training very seriously, and we do it all the time. And you should too. You know, everything you do in life, you can be training. Sitting with your family around the kitchen table, let's talk about what happens if we have a fire in the home tonight. Practice those exit drills in the home. You can always prepare for the unexpected. Now, we're going to wrap up the show with our shout-outs. We got a shout-out from Ethan. Ethan wants a shout-out to the Lorain Fire Department, Station 3 in Lorain, Ohio. Scott wants a shout-out to the Deptford Fire Department in Deptford, New Jersey. And Alec wants a shout-out to New Ulm Volunteer Fire Department. Now, if we use your shout-out, use your question, you get a sassy Sioux Falls Fire Rescue t-shirt. You just don't see them anywhere but here. And hey, check out the front. Now, if you have those questions, you want to know what's going on, got questions about being a firefighter, let me know. Get on our website, www.siouxfalls.org/firecall, and let me know. We'll try to get your answers on. Now, we do have a ton of questions because we probably get 30 or 40 questions a month. But we'll try and get yours, especially if it's good. We want good questions. My name is Division Chief Jim Sideras, and you've been watching Fire Call.